encourage your soul, enlighten your mind, and empower your faith. This is the Light Network. Welcome to Preachers in Training. This is the podcast on which we discuss all things preaching and ministry. My name is Robert Hatfield. We're coming to you once again for this episode from the Exhibit Hall floor, the Sports Center at Freed-Hardeman University's annual Bible Lectureship. Gives us a great opportunity to catch up with some friends, and today we get to catch up indeed. David Pharr preaches in Orlando, Florida.
Yes, sir.
And you were with us, last season or the one before? It hasn't been that long ago.
Yeah, went too terribly long
ago. And since then, you've had a few fireworks in your life.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How you doing today? Thanks for being with us.
I am doing excellent. Very blessed to be here. I didn't know if I was going to be able to make lectureship this year, but it all worked out, and healthy enough to be here. And so I haven't missed, other than I think the COVID year or whatever, if they even had it that year.
Right. They didn't.
So I've been here for 20-something years.
You got a streak to keep alive.
I have a streak to keep alive. That's right. So we were happy to be here.
Yeah. Tell us about the church where you
labor.
So
I'm at the Concord Street Church of Christ. I've been there since August of 22. It's right in downtown Orlando, so we love getting to have. There's a couple things to do in Orlando that people come down for.
Are there?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I think SeaWorld. I think that's what's there.
That's the number one attraction.
But there's a few things there, and so we get a lot of visitors sometimes, and that is always nice. But it's a great body. It's a great congregation. Love it very, very much, and we're very blessed to be there.
I'm so glad you're there.
So, yes, sir.
We got to worship with you all once when we were down there.
That's
and
right.
That was just a great Sunday.
Yes.
They seemed to love you, and that was just a fun time to be there and see all that up close.
And when you leave one place, especially, we were in Chattanooga for almost 10 years, and we knew for sure that those people loved us.
Yes.
And when you move to someplace else, one of your, not necessarily fears, but you just kind of wonder, are they going to love us like the other people loved us? Mm-hmm. And I think all of those questions have been answered over the past at least few months from the health adventure that we have been on.
Well, let's talk about a little bit of that. So tell us how, you were like in the kitchen or something, right?
Right. So
it was just a normal day.
It was a normal Monday. And so other than this was the first Monday we had kind of changed some office hours things. So I was there from 8:30 until 5. So that's
a long day.
This is a warning. Don't make your preacher stay in the office from 8:30 until 5. Okay. Something
lessons learned.
Yeah, something bad might happen. And so I'd gotten home. It was about 5:45 that evening, and I was prepping dinner. I was cutting broccoli. Mm-hmm. I have not had broccoli since.
Good.
But I was cutting broccoli for dinner that night, and as I was doing that, basically everything switched in my head. What was on the right side felt like it was on the left side.
Whoa.
Things got very, very slow. I felt my body trying to turn me one direction, and I fought against it, and I turned it the other direction. And then I remember trying to yell for my wife, Amber, who was in the other room, and nothing coming out, just like a type sound.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember anything until the EMT was talking to me in the ambulance.
Wow.
So I don't know exactly how much time. The EMT ambulance is right down the street from us. Less than half a mile. So that was a blessing. They could be there. Amber was in the other room, and she could find me. She has told me the story since then of all the things that happened. But basically I had a massive seizure, and I fell to the ground, stiffened up with the knife, still in my hand, thankfully, and didn't have any issues with that.
Right.
She was able to get that out of my hand and to try to hold me while she was calling 911. The kids were able to go outside, and there was a neighbor that happened to be out there that was able to kind of watch over them for a little bit, so they didn't see much of the things going on.
Yeah.
And Amber said that basically I was not myself. I didn't understand what was going on. I tried to fight her. And when she was talking to the 911 operator, when I was wrestling with her and such. And then when the EMTs came, all in my head, I think that I was thinking about is there strange people in my home trying to bind me and put me on, this gurney and take me away. And finally, they asked Amber to come back in and say, "Can you tell your husband just to sit down?" And she goes, "Well, I don't think he'll listen to me." And she walks in and goes, "David, we need you to sit down." And I said, "Okay." And I sat down. And she's like, "Did anybody have that on tape?" That he did what I asked him to do the very first moment. And
when he was not in his right mind. Okay.
It's exactly right. And so that eventually got me into the ambulance, and we went to the emergency room. And there, I just thought that we would run some tests and I'd be sent on my way, type thing. We had a CT scan, and what was awesome is even when we were in the emergency room, I don't know how this elder found out about it, but an elder already, one of our shepherds there at Concord Street, already showed up. I was like, "Whoa. Were you listening to like the police scanner or something?" I mean, like, how are you here right after Amber got there?
Yeah.
And but he was in there also. His name's UL Campbell. He was in there also when the doctor came back in with my CT results. And she sat down next to us. I was on the bed. Amber sitting in a chair next to us. And she said, "Well, we have your results of your CT scan, and there's a large mass on your brain." And of course, just hearing mass, tumor, all of those things just goom, the entire weight of the room and just suck the air out of it.
Right.
And of course, Amber was very concerned by that. And my immediately thing to say is what you always say and something like that. "Oh, everything's going to be okay." Kind of believing that, not sure that that's something, that we say. Everything is going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so we ended up being transferred from that hospital, that emergency room hospital, to another hospital where there was a neurosurgeon where we could have an MRI. And then a couple of days later, I had a craniotomy where they removed about a golf ball sized tumor that had been growing on my brain, who knows, for 10 or 15 years.
Right. So you're a fairly healthy guy.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you run all the time.
Right.
And you have for many years now.
Yes.
No, I mean, there were no warning signs of this.
No, the only thing that was different is I had some headaches, and I attributed those headaches to moving to a new congregation where there's new stresses, new things that are going on.
And a new climate.
Climate. I mean, from Chattanooga to Tennessee, there was all kinds of environmental things that were different.
Yeah.
I found out as long as I had coffee in the morning, I didn't have the headache, so I thought it was caffeine related.
Okay.
And things like that. And we had even talked about having an MRI, but then we're like, "No, it's not. It seems to be...
It's a headache. Everybody has headaches.
It seems to be just a headache." Yeah. And in fact, I hadn't had one of those in a couple months, and then we had that seizure. But you're right. I mean, of all the miles that I've run, of all the jarring of my head that has happened, that never felt any pressure or discomfort there until just that massive seizure that brought about all the other things.
So scary.
So
I remember during all this time, I mean, you were there. It got to a point where, if my memory serves, even before the surgery, you know, of course, Amber had updated everybody on social media, and then you, I think, posted or maybe even did a video or something before or after surgery. My memory is slipping a little bit right now, but you know, your faith, your calm through all of that.
Yeah,
I just thought, man, this guy is really keeping it together.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's one of those things that obviously you don't experience something like this until you experience something like this. And I'd always thought that, well, I believe in God. I believe that Jesus' grace and his blood has saved me. And I preach that you can have that confidence in all of those things. And so trying to make sure you're able to live out that confidence also. Thinking that
is that a conscious thought you're having, like as you're going through this, like, okay, now I have to practice all this stuff I've been preaching?
Oh, well, I mean, definitely. Well, you know that you're going to have, I mean, as a minister, all the time that people are looking to you for not only the guidance and things when you're preaching and teaching, but how are you going to handle these different real life situations? And we've been you and I, we've been on the other side of the bed many times, sitting next to somebody, comforting somebody through scary diagnosis and prognosis and death and all of those things.
And even admiring their faith often.
Exactly.
Or assuring their faith.
Right. And so now was an opportunity for me to feel that same.
Right.
And it was amazing to have that sense of calm. If this does not work out, as far as if I don't recover from this, or if this is a much worse tumor or whatever, then it really is going to be okay.
Start thinking about cancers and all that stuff too, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're there. They received the diagnosis. They tell you you're going to have to have this. What did you say?
I heard craniotomy.
Okay, I heard craniectomy, and I thought that's not right.
Craniotomy. So
what does that mean?
So crania, the cranium. So basically, craniotomy means they take part of your skull off. And so
to get access.
So that's exactly what they did. They had to drill 2 holes in my head, and then just like if you were working with woodwork, right? If you want to make a circle, drill the 2 holes, and then you connect it with a jigsaw type thing.
Okay.
Yeah, except it's your brain.
Are they telling you all this going into it?
So they told me beforehand, and that was a little bit of calm too, because when we talked to the neurosurgeon, which neurosurgeons are interesting people.
Okay.
I mean, their bedside manner is not great. That's
because they're so stinking smart, right?
They obviously are super smart.
Yeah.
But when we were talking to him, and Amber had all kinds of questions, so before we were going to have surgery the next morning, and we were trying to figure all these things out, and he just acted like it was going to be a Thursday.
Okay.
Like he could
him it was.
Yeah,
right?
he could care less. He even came into the surgery 15 minutes late. Like we were waiting on him.
Okay.
And the nurse is like, "Oh yeah." He was like, "Okay, well I'm glad he's not that concerned about this. I guess I don't need to be that concerned."
So that was a calming thing.
It was. Because I mean, he's like, "Yeah, this is. I mean, we can handle this. This is routine.
Yeah.
This is not a bad. I don't think it's going to be bad or whatever." And he told us all the things that were going to happen. I'm one of those. I enjoy medical things and medicine. In fact, when I came to Freed originally, I was a biology major.
Oh.
And so I watched a YouTube of what the surgery was going to be like, so I would know all the things beforehand. And
wow.
So that was fine for me. But I find it very interesting. And it's just amazing that they can do that.
I know.
And it worked out the way it did.
Wow. So you went into surgery. That was a long day for your family. You were out cold, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't remember. I remember obviously the pre-op.
Yes.
And then kind of being loopy and coming to and seeing some different people from church that had been there, sitting with Amber and seeing Amber. And the big thing after surgery, because they worked on the right side of my brain, the left side was very, very weak, like not paralyzed, but unusable, which is somebody as active as me.
Right.
That also is like, okay, is this going to be the new normal?
Yes.
That I'm going to have to do this. I mean, I had to learn how to walk, got a walker, and all of those things. Yeah. Trying to get my left hand to work again. We had after surgery, the OT lady came in, and she told me to make an OK sign with my hand. And you'd have thought that was the hardest thing in the world to do. I finally got my index finger and my thumb to touch, and she said, "Okay, well now make the other fingers go up like an OK sign." And I was like, "Why are you? This is difficult." And
quit doing this to me.
I know how it's supposed to work. Obviously, I can do it the other hand very quickly.
Yeah.
But just trying to tell my brain how to move my hand correctly, and so that was a challenge.
There'd be an emotional toll to that too. It's not just like this is hard, but it's like, why can't I do this?
Yes.
Had they prepared you for?
They had said I was going to have the surgeon said you'll have some weakness on your left side.
Okay.
But
that was a
lot of weakness.
Yeah.
Unusable, limpness.
Immobile. Yeah. Okay.
And but he kept saying, "But it'll come back. It'll come back. It'll all come back. Just gotta give it time. It'll come back."
Yeah.
And now, I'm probably 98% full back on. I notice some things that other people probably don't notice, but it's my body that I understand, especially when I'm running again and stuff like that.
Yes.
And so I notice some things in my gait, and sometimes things feel a little weird or different, and it may be like that forever, but. I'm blessed to be in the condition I am after all of that.
What was I know recovery's still ongoing. But
Right.
what was that initial recovery like? I mean, you mentioned, that you had to do some therapy type exercises and things like that. And
it was really just giving the brain some time to heal.
Okay.
Because obviously it had all that pressure on it. They removed that. It kind of, got to get blood flow back to it, and it's got to heal and all of that stuff. And so I remember, I guess it was about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks after surgery when I was able to tie my shoe for the first time.
Oh.
And I thought, okay, well, that's it. I mean, it seems like a weird thing that was such a milestone. But I remember that was a big milestone to be able to manipulate my fingers to be able to tie laces and all of that. So, so I had about, I'm only a little over 2 months post-surgery right now.
Wow.
And I would say that for the most part, I started feeling very close to normal about 6 weeks after the surgery.
How long were you in the hospital?
I was in ICU for 4 days, and then I stepped down for 1 day, and then released. Yeah.
Was there this feeling like, am I ready to go home right now? It's only been 5 days.
I wanted to be out of there.
You were ready
so badly.
Okay,
yeah. And I kept asking, when can we do this? When can it get? It's just just wanting to be home and make it easier. I mean, even the hospital wasn't too terribly far away from our house, which was nice. But just the extra stress of, we have 4 kids, and life continued with them, and wanting to be home, so it'd be easier for the family that we can all be there, and so we don't have to make trips to the hospital. Amber doesn't have to make trips to the hospital, take different kids to come see me, and all that stuff. Yeah. So
in the meantime, the church at Concord Street was busy, sort of behind the scenes, and even at times in front of the scenes, doing things and rallying support and prayers.
Definitely.
And that was a neat thing to watch from the outside looking in for a lot of us.
So the Concord Street congregation is just incredible, and we had seen how they had helped other people with different needs in the short period of time that we had been there. We had only been there for a year and a half tops by the time this happens, right? And we'd seen all the different things they'd done for other people, but then to be on the other aspect of it where they are doing all those things for us was truly incredible. From Amber, I don't think she cooked a meal for almost 6 weeks.
Wow.
They brought us food continually. They cut my grass. They cleaned the house. They picked up kids, watched kids, took care of all kinds of things, and it was very, very just awesome.
Just thoughtful too.
Yes.
Even the things like cutting the grass, the food thing, right? You start up a meal train. That's just what we do, right?
Right.
Church, we eat. We're an eating people.
Yes. That's what fellowship means, right?
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure that's all it means. The Greek word, it means food. Potluck.
Koinonia, eat. Yes.
But the thoughtfulness of your house needs cleaning, your kids need watching and picking up, your grass needs mowing.
Yes.
It's Florida. It never stops.
It's Florida. You cut the grass, the entire year around.
Mosquitoes never die.
Right.
I remember that from our time in South Carolina too. It was very similar. Wow, that's amazing.
Yes, and it was it was a very humbling thing. You say sometimes that people, we're praying for you, and you say that, and because that's supposed to add comfort.
Yes.
But it's amazing when you're on the other side of things to know really how many people are praying for you. What a humbling and grace-filled experience that is, just getting the text messages, getting the Facebook messages, the posts, the actual written cards in the mail from, I don't know who these people are, but just saying, well, we heard about this and we are praying for you at our church or whatever. And just the, my thought that, just so awesome to think about is during that time that the throne room of heaven was echoing with my name.
Your name, yeah.
And that's just really, really an awesome experience.
This is one of those experiences where social media really shines.
Right.
Yes. We dog on it enough, but there are bright spots.
Definitely. And that was, just seeing this post shared hundreds and hundreds of times, and even being here, there's people I don't know that come up to me and go, oh, I've been following you on social media. I've been following your story. We're so glad that you're here. We prayed for you, and it's a really awesome thing. So I am not thankful that I had the issue, but I'm also thankful that I had the issue.
Understand.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
how long were you out of the pulpit?
So I preached. I guess I preached that November 26th, and then I begged and I begged and I begged, and I got to preach Sunday morning on December the 31st.
Oh wow!
So, and it was different, and the elders at Concord Street were wonderful in trying to make sure that I did not get back too quickly. They know me, and that I want to get back. I wanted to get back like Christmas Eve that Sunday morning, but it was probably wise that I did not. But my first full Sunday where Bible class worship Sunday evening was January 21st, I guess.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, which is also a different thing, because I felt, and I even told the elders this in a meeting shortly after that. It's like, hey, can y'all just fill me in? 'Cause I feel so out of the loop of being out of the congregation for a month, basically. And, but things continue. I mean, things continue to move. Things continue to happen.
Life happens.
Life happens. Other people are going through different things. There's... And so, just I needed to be caught back up, if you will.
They gave you a briefing, and you were ready again.
So, exactly right, exactly right.
Who covered the pulpit while you weren't there?
So we had several. We had people that signed up to do it. We were a very talented congregation as far as people can fill the pulpit. We had different elders, deacons, our youth minister, and so different people stepped up and took care of that, and so that was awesome also.
I remember, just y'all's live stream pops up in my Facebook feed, especially on Sundays, and so I oftentimes will see you, and I'll see the topic that you're covering or the class you're teaching, but it was like every week it was someone different.
Yes.
And I thought, that's neat.
It is.
No one person is having to feel burdened by this, but at the same time it's covered, everything's going well.
Definitely.
That was cool.
That was very cool, and they had that planned out for as long as it needed to happen, too. Even
to the point where you have to beg them to let you come back.
Yes. In fact, there was another one of our deacons was supposed to preach that December 31st.
Okay.
And he said, well, I had a great sermon. I was hoping I was going to be able to preach. And we let him do it at another time. And he did a wonderful job on a Sunday night that I wasn't able to be there. So... But yes, very, very blessed through all those things.
What do you talk about when you've been out of the pulpit for a month plus? Well, like December, you said it was 31st?
Yes, December 31st.
What do you say? You're not just going on with your sermon plan, are you?
Right. There's definitely, I definitely wanted to try to continue to finish out, the year, but then also you kind of got to talk about what has happened, and lots of thank yous, lots of fighting through tears, thanking the congregation and everything else. But yes, but it, all of our life happenings make for sermon illustrations, and definitely this puts a new perspective on many verses, on many of the Psalms. It puts new perspectives on just addressing different things, difficulties that you experience in life, the goodness of God, the goodness of God's people, and all of those things when you are sitting down and writing out lessons and thinking about how you're going to address the congregation, for sure.
Okay, I've got so many questions here.
Sure.
I need to stop because I'm looking at our clock here. Is there a part of you where you seem like a very driven person, I don't want to describe you as like a workaholic. I don't think that, but you enjoy what you do and you're committed to it. Is that a fair assessment of you?
Definitely.
I know you give time to your family and all of that. You, in as much as balance, I'm doing air quotes for those of you who are listening, is an elusive concept, but at the same time, we understand what we mean when we use the term.
Right. Yes.
You're sitting there, you're recovering, you want to get back. You said I would have loved to have been back December 24th or earlier.
Yep.
Is there a part of that it's like, man, I'm missing out, or I don't even know what's going on right now, or
right.
Are you resisting the urge to like text everybody and be like, tell me what's going on over there, or are you appreciative for the time you're spending with family that you wouldn't have got? I mean, tell me what was that like for you?
It definitely was nice to have a break, from all of those things, from to spend more time with family. Unfortunately, some of that time spent with family, I was not well enough to spend time with family. But it was a nice break, and I think that my family enjoyed that nice break too, because my wife has reminded me a few different times now that I'm fully back, like, hey, remember that this time you need to be doing this with us, and not those things. That again, that balance that is very unbalanced.
The elusive balance.
Yes, exactly.
Are you doing 8:30 to 5:45 days still?
Not. I am on Monday. My Mondays are still the long day, which is fine, and I haven't had any other seizures since then. But again, I enjoyed the break, but at the same time, I really do. I love getting to preach and teach, and I love getting to do that with the Concord Street congregation, and so. That being taken away and me in my head at least thinking, I can do this now, and then somebody kindly saying, no, you don't need to do this yet. That's a little bit frustrating, because I want to be up there and doing the things that I love to do.
Well, I didn't mean to cast the 6-month recovery, 6-week recovery or whatever, as though you were just sitting back doing nothing either, definitely. Right? Because obviously there was recovery from a variety of perspectives.
Right.
There are wounds, and then your brain's got to do whatever the brain does, and all that stuff.
Which is crazy. That brain is an amazing thing.
What about that thing?
It is. Whoever put that thing together, he must have known something. So, for sure.
We've sort of looked at a few lessons learned along the way, but if there's something else you feel like we need to share before we transition there, please do. But you're I know this isn't totally in the rearview mirror yet for you, but what are some things that just keep coming to your mind? That are like, man, I've got to remember this as we go forward, or I've got a new appreciation for this as we move on.
Well, I mean, we sing the song oftentimes that God is so good, but it would be impossible for me to sing that song the same way ever again. Just truly experiencing the goodness of God, the goodness of God's people, the goodness of God through prayer. I mean, that I have recovered the way I have recovered. It's not because of me. I mean, it's not like I was doing something amazing to be able to recover this way. It's just the goodness of God, God's people, and showing the benefit of a praying community, and just seeing how God's people can be amazing. As we realize, as one of the jokes, in ministry, what's the best part about ministry? It's the people. And then what's the worst part about ministry?
Right. It's the people.
It's the people. Yeah. And so we can experience both of those things, but it was truly great to see the best part of ministry, and getting to experience the love of people for myself and for my family. One of the other big things that I learned is the great benefit of a spouse to help me through those things. I would not be where I'm at, obviously, just as an individual without Amber, but especially through all of those things. And it also gave me another appreciation for the spouses that do have to help somebody through difficult things. Because it's one thing for the person that's going through the stuff, but they have doctors, they have nurses, they have all these people checking in on them. Then there's so much more that is laid upon the shoulders of the person that is there in the thick of it, that's not sick, if you will. It's not going through the health event. And so she has been just incredible. I think she she now needs some time to recover from all of this. But definitely that is just a huge benefit. Another thing that I was thinking about, of just trying to think of stuff that I've learned from all this, is don't waste the situations that you are in. Even something like this. So for whatever reason, God put me in the position where I'm going to have a brain tumor and brain surgery. And I mean, still just saying that seems a very odd thing to say. Hey, I've had brain surgery.
Yeah,
but
that doesn't happen to me. That happens to other people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But don't waste that. Use that for His glory in some way, some capacity. And so whatever the situation, when you go through really, really great things or when you go through bad things, don't waste the moment in trying to give back to God in that way.
And you did that. I mean, in the public way, like through the social media stuff, those of us who were kind of watching again outside looking in, we were seeing your faith in action. We were seeing the calm and the peace that you had. We were seeing you brag on your wife and your church family through the process. And then we were seeing your church family brag on you and pray for you, all on social media. And I know none of that was like, standing on the street corners so that you may be seen by men.
Yeah.
It was just genuine concern and appreciation for each other. And that was wonderful. I can only imagine that in a local context now, as you're ministering to these people, there's probably an even greater mutual appreciation and even the ability to be a better comforter, a better minister, as you're now on the other side of the bed making those hospital visits and things like that.
Well, there's an extra bit of intimacy, if you will, there, because we've gone through this together in this, and so, and I think hopefully it makes, sometimes, I don't know, this may just be my thought, but sometimes the preacher can, for better or for worse, can kind of be like that person that's up there type thing, and you try to have relationships with the people, but at the same time, sometimes it's difficult. There's some separation there. But through this, we have all walked through this together. And having people, when they come and brought food, to stick around for a little bit and us to share things and talk about stuff. And for them to see me physically struggle, and then for them to pick up the slack and help out. Definitely has made that relationship of a greater depth, for sure.
It speaks to the health of the congregation there, I think, too, that the work can continue.
Oh, yes.
Even when the preacher is incapacitated.
Right.
I mean, obviously there was some slack that needed to be picked up. One would hope that that would be the case, but at the same time, it's not like everything stopped either.
Definitely.
And that seems like a good thing, although there's a humbling aspect, I think, for us as ministers.
Yes.
You're not the hub of the wheel.
Right.
You are an important spoke, but you're not the hub of it.
Definitely.
And I mean, that's a good thing, right?
I think
it sounds backwards what I'm saying, but
no, I fully get it. That the show will go on, if you want, not the church, the show, but just the expression, right? The show will go on. Things will find a way to, the Lord's work will continue to be done, and all of those things. Yeah. And I just think, providentially, me being where I'm at for this event to happen, that to be at a congregation that has the ability to help take care of me through this.
Yes.
I just, because whenever you make a move, you oftentimes think, oh, did we make the right decision about this and that? Right. And you trying to understand the providence of God, what doors are being opened, what are being shut. Right. You pray for clarity, and then sometimes you're like, well, that's not really that clear. Can I have some more clarity?
Yeah. Can the fleece be dry tomorrow and the ground around it be wet?
Exactly. But just the way things worked out for the best possible outcome is truly amazing, and
That's
so
awesome.
we're very appreciative of all those things.
You mentioned that. I mean, just moving in and of itself can be a little stressful.
Right.
I think this is the last question I've got. I've got to get you away from here. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I'm just loving this conversation. you mentioned that sometimes, things are stressful, and just moving to a different place is stressful, and it does take 6 or 12 or 18 months to
Right.
really get your feet on the ground. Has there ever been through all this process any temptation toward career change, or even the thought of is this really what I want to keep doing, or has this helped you to double down?
Definitely the latter, to solidify, to double down, to be even more invigorated. Not wasting what has happened, and being able to use that to propel us to, bigger and better things, and trying to incorporate, as much of that in just how I hopefully minister to the congregation. That's there, great. And as we continue to grow together, for sure.
Well, the reason why I asked, you hear so many stories of so many preachers who are just, it's like, man, I'm giving everything,
right.
and I don't feel like I'm getting anything back, or it feels like I love these people, but that's not often reciprocated. Here's a story in you, and again, I regret, as you do, the circumstance and everything that happened. But wow, the glory of God, the wisdom of God manifests through His church,
right?
Through you and your story, and that's just a wonderful thing.
It is.
I'm so grateful that you're doing as well as you are, and that you're now able to be here, sitting across from me in person,
sir.
Here in Henderson, Tennessee, and that you're willing to share it with all of us on this podcast. This is a message that we as preachers need to hear, and I'm grateful for your willingness to share it.
There's definitely plenty of horror stories that we can share, and there's also, we all know of other preachers or maybe of congregations that can kind of chew preachers up and spit them out, type thing.
There are reputations.
Yeah, there are reputations there, but this is a very positive story of how, I like to say this is how it's supposed to work. Obviously we get in the way sometimes, and it does not work this way. But to see how the Lord's people locally, and then the Lord's people on a grander scale, I'm just amazed. I remember Amber saying, because I was asking her, I was like, why are people doing this? I don't understand. Why are they being so nice to us about this? And she was like, well, there's a lot of people that love you, and that's just a awesome thing to. It's one thing to say; it's a whole other thing to see that love in action, and the way that Christian love is unlike any other type of love, for sure. And so, very amazing, and very blessed.
It. Well, tell Amber to treat herself to SeaWorld sometime.
There you go.
For a rest and result.
We'll try to figure out. If there's anything to do in Orlando, we'll try to figure out something for her to do.
Y'all will be roughing it down there.
That's right.
Do your best.
Right. Yes, sir.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Appreciate the good work you're doing on the Light Network, and so
thanks for sharing your story.
Yes,
it means
sir.
a whole lot. Thank you for being a part of this edition of Preachers in Training. Hope you'll join us next Thursday when we'll continue on with some great interviews about preaching and ministry. Until then, let's preach the word.